My name's Teddy Burfalk, and I did Rodriguez Calero and his work, Christ of Christians. Subject, so the focal point is essentially on Jesus and the idea that he was perfect and an innocent man, yet he was a sacrifice and killed for a greater representation. For example, at the time, the Romans were killing innocent people and needed to be stopped. And this relates the common man of color to the sacrifice of Jesus, because one person being killed can be used as a message to many on the issue of racism or oppression. For objects, in this we see a cross that contains a head with a halo around it. We also see at the bottom left and bottom right hand corners gold and wheat, filling up the space somewhat. For mood, so we see that through the colors and through just the composition of it all, we see that it depicts an intense and serious mood, and the dark warm colors help to depict more of a more negative and scary mood. Composition, we see that it's asymmetrical. We see more weight, more just stuff on the left-hand side of the image rather than the right-hand side. And then we see the focal point of the head, because the vertical lines and horizontal lines, as well as the leading lines from the cross pointing up to the head, making it that central focal point. We also see the golden halo emphasizing the head, really just placing all that focal point upon the person. For contrast, we see a dark black and light red. In the background, we see that light red filling up the empty space, and then we see that dark black and the cross. That also helps emphasize that intense and kind of scary mood. We also see a contrast between the dark red paint splatters behind the subject's head, and then we see that light red that kind of really emphasizes that dark red. Like I said, for color, we see a dark black in the cross, and in the gold we see in the bottom left hand right hand corner, we see in the wheat, and then we see it in the gold halo up top, and then we just see a mixture between dark and light red all throughout the background of the image. So for symbols, the first symbol I said was oppression, and it's that the idea that the African American male is in the place of Christ, symbolizing the idea that the sacrifice of an innocent man must take place in order to create a difference within the world or the community. The gold that we see in the painting represents royalty, pointing to the idea that while though the image is of a different man, it represents Christ, who's ultimately the figure being, reflecting the image, and the gold represents that he is king. And then we also see that in the gold halo and the cross that also help depict that the image is centered around Christ, and that he is the main subject behind it all. And then after some further research, I looked up that in the bottom right and left-hand corner with the golden wheat, we see that it represents abundance and spiritual nourishment, and it also represents that it's the Lord's kingdom. What it also can represent is Christ's death, burial, and then resurrection, along with the promise of a new life. Space. For space, we see that light red in the background, kind of filling it up far in the back, and then we also see that dark red and paint splatters intermixed as well behind the subject's head, kind of popping it out and also making even that intense and scary kind of look.
And we have like a gun on the right, and then we have like the outfits.
So in conclusion, overall we see just a dark image overall, the theme of the crucifixion of Christ. It represents the global issue of racism and social oppression by placing an African American individual in the place of Christ on the cross. This relates to the idea that just how Christ's sacrifice was needed to make a change and see the flaws within the Roman government. The sacrifice, or within the Roman government, it also kind of points out the idea that the sacrifice of an African American individual may be needed to point out the injustice and racism that we see in people of color consistently face, that people of color consistently face on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.